Hello, beautiful vloggers. It's your girl Shay. Now, go ahead and like and subscribe to this right now because that will give you the latest uploads and reviews and recaps. I just uploaded a review and recap for Real Housewives of Potomac, as well as an update for what's going on with the Real Housewives of Potomac and the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Also, I want you to know that the timestamps are in the description box, okay? So be sure to check those out. So if you want to move ahead and see where there's a certain section you want to hear about or whatever in this particular video, go ahead and check out the timestamps in the description box and it'll let you know where to go for that particular section. So be sure to subscribe and you can be a part of the notification squad. All right, so let's get started. It is season 4, episode 3 of Power, obviously. And the title of the episode is The Kind of Man You Are, which is what Angela tells Ghost when they meet up or whatever, and she goes to see him in the interview room or whatever. She's like, I know the kind of man you are and all this stuff, because she really thinks he did it, but he didn't. So let's get it cracking, okay? So, it starts with everybody getting arrested. They pick up Julio, they pick up Keisha, they pick up Andre, and so we see that in the very beginning. And then right then we move to the interrogation room, where it's not really an interrogation room, it's more like the interview room, and Ghost is in there and he's there with Proctor, and the new second chair is a guy by the name of Tony Silver. He's a black guy. He's gonna be second chair to Proctor, helping out Ghost with this case and trying to make sure he gets away and he's acquitted. So what's going on is that this attorney that they now have, he is used to trying federal cases, and so Proctor thinks he would be really good to help out with everything having to do with Ghost, since this is a federal case of him possibly murdering Knox, but he didn't do it. Obviously Sandoval did it, but so that's why this guy is coming in now, because he's going to help out with all this stuff that's going on with this whole federal situation. And so they're trying to figure out, how they're going to knock down the whole case of supposedly Ghost killing Knox. And they're saying that the motive was that he killed Knox to protect Tommy, because the prosecution, they still think that Tommy is Ghost, when really James St. Patrick is Ghost, but they think it's Tommy. So they think that Ghost killed Knox in order to protect Tommy from being prosecuted for the whole Lobos murder and everything. So they want to try to knock down the prosecution's case, and in order to do that, they need to set up to establish a good timeline and an alibi. So they make him go through his entire scenario about how he was at Truth that night and everything, and how he broke into Knox's apartment, but he's not really guilty. Silver automatically has this facial expression like, what? Like, you breaking into somebody's home and then they end up dead, but you gonna say you're not guilty? Okay, I don't know if I believe you. Like, that's how he's looking. And so then Ghost sees a phone in the photo that's supposed to be the evidence, I guess, of Knox's apartment when he was murdered, but he's like, that phone wasn't there. I was helping Angela look for that phone because they were trying to figure out who the mole was and all this stuff. So when Ghost says, hey, that phone wasn't there and all this stuff, they immediately decide they're going to look into that. So that's going to be interesting, because everybody's still trying to figure out who the mole was. Now they want to pretend like Knox was the mole, but Knox was not the mole. We all know this though, right? So then Tommy is dropping the kids off at the school. He's dropping off Tariq and Rayna, and he goes ahead and let Rayna get out the car, because Rayna is the good kid. Tariq is the one with a problem, and he got a lot of problems. If he don't get it together, he gonna end up dead messing with Kanan, but that's another story. So Tommy is like, you need to be good to your mother and all of this stuff, and Tariq is like, he don't care about being good to his mom, because basically he feels like everybody's been lying to him, and he doesn't care if his dad goes away and all this stuff, and that his dad probably did it. And Tommy is like, no, your dad didn't do that. Your dad wouldn't risk his family. Your dad would not kill a cop. But Tariq is not buying it. He's like, my dad was always lying and stuff like that. And Tommy was like, yeah, Tommy could really relate to him about the whole lying situation, because Ghost had lied to Tommy quite a few times. So Tommy was able to really relate to Tariq in that moment, because in the past couple of seasons we saw Tommy and Ghost at odds, because Ghost was lying so much, and then Tommy couldn't trust him. So now Tariq is in the same predicament. He can't trust his dad because his dad lies so much. But, you know, Tommy is trying to let him know, like, your dad would not do that. Your dad is a good guy. He would never, you know, risk his family in that way and all this stuff. But Tariq is not buying it. So, you know, that happens or whatever. And then Keisha, Julio, and Andre, you know, they're being questioned or whatever because they all got arrested. So they're being questioned by Angela Valdez, Agent Sandoval, and another agent. So, you know, Julio and Andre aren't really giving too much information or anything. However, when Angela is questioning Keisha, you know, she's asking Keisha stuff like, when did Ghost move out and all this stuff. And she's like, well, you know when he moved out because he was sleeping on your couch and all that stuff, or stuff like that, because you was breaking up a happy home, basically telling her she was the other woman. And Angela was like, just answer the questions. And I'm thinking to myself, why isn't Keisha just saying, I want an attorney? Like, why are you answering anything? But she did. So Angela was really, you know, down her neck. And then moving on, they all having a meeting at Tasha's apartment, and Keisha is telling Proctor and Silver, the new second attorney or second chair or whatever, what happened and all the stuff she was being asked. And they realized, no, that she wasn't just asking you that to be an asshole. She was asking you that because she needs proof that, you know, Tasha and Ghost were broken up. And if they can get that proof, then you are going to sit here and you're going to show that Tasha was actually broken up for him, and that takes away the the spousal privilege. So then, you know, with spousal privilege, they can't make her testify against her husband. But if they can break spousal privilege and prove that they weren't together at the time, then they can break spousal privilege and then have Tasha go ahead and testify against Ghost. So Keisha had no idea, but they knew exactly what they were doing. Angela knew exactly what she was doing. And they basically were like, if they can prove that, you know, y'all were split up and all that stuff and spousal privilege is thrown out the window, then Tasha will no longer be looked at just as the wife of Ghost. She can be treated as an accomplice. And that is a whole other situation. So then the prosecutors meet up and they realize they don't have as much evidence and stuff on all these people as they would like, and they want to put Tasha on the stand and testify, and they feel like they have enough information to break spousal privilege, just what Proctor said that they wanted to do. Angela is trying to argue like, hey, this is not good for the kids. If we do this, you know, the children will be directly affected by it. They really don't care, because the way they see it, and I believe that Prosecutor Max said, at the end of the day, do you think he's guilty? And Angela said, yeah, I think he did it. So the prosecutor was like, well, then the children are just collateral damage. So they have no problem putting Tasha on the stand. And if Tasha will not comply, they will have her charged as an accomplice and possibly put her in jail, because they want her to testify. And if she's not going to, you know, play ball like they tell her to, they have no problem, you know what I'm saying, dealing with the situation and having her in handcuffs. So, you know, Keisha may have done a little bit too much talking, and she really should have asked for, that's the first thing I thought when I saw her being questioned. I was like, girl, why are you not asking for an attorney? It would be one thing if you just being questioned about some random stuff, but you being questioned about a person who is being charged with killing a federal agent. Like, you need to, and then you are like doing some illegal stuff with your hair salon and all that stuff. Like, girl, you need to ask for somebody to come and represent you or something. So Keisha may have made a bigger mess of the whole situation, but she didn't mean to. She meant well, but that's kind of the way the cookie crumbled. So Tommy is at the warehouse, and they're talking about how the shipment ain't come yet, and that it's a big issue because the Chicago distributors want to know what's going on. Everybody, you know, Ghost has been on the news. Everybody know he got pinched, as they say, for this murder that he did not commit. So they're like, you know, all of our people in Chicago want to know what's going on. They want their product by any means necessary. And then Tommy is saying it's an important shipment coming in 2 days, so everybody needs to be on their P's and Q's. But this is looking crazy. So I don't know how Tommy gonna move all this weight, knowing that everybody is watching him, because they are watching him, because they think that Tommy is Ghost. They don't know they already have the real Ghost in custody. Well, some of them know. Agent Saxe knows, but the rest of them don't. So they all think that Tommy is the real Ghost. So Tommy is being watched like a hawk, and he doesn't even realize it, you know. So he probably does realize it, but he still got to make his money. So he gonna do it. He gonna do whatever he got to do. So then we see these same boys. It's three white boys actually, and they are continuing to bully Tariq and his sister Raina. Well, they not really messing with Tariq, because Tariq stands up to them, but Raina doesn't. She kind of is just like really sweet and innocent. And so, you know, they are like taking her phone and talking about her dad and all this stuff, saying, I think the boy said something like, you know, your dad didn't tell us what he was really into when he came up here for career day or something like that. So these boys are like really picking on her, really picking on Tariq. We saw them picking on Tariq last episode. So Tariq comes down and throws one of the boys up against the wall, you know what I'm saying, and basically checks them like to make them leave her alone. But then Rayna is like, let him go, because, you know, Rayna doesn't want any trouble. She's a really good kid. She don't want her brother to get in trouble. She don't want her brother to get suspended and all this stuff. So then Tariq walks away, and then all of that happens, and then she just walks outside and starts crying, because she just so probably overwhelmed with emotions. She going through so much. She's watching her father go through so much. So she goes outside crying, and as she's crying, the paparazzi snaps a photo of her, because remember last episode they were trying to get pictures and Tasha smashed the camera. So now they're back, but Tasha's not there, and Raina doesn't even see the paparazzi standing there taking pictures of her. So while she's crying, they taking the pictures and stuff. And then you know, she has no idea, but it was really sad to watch her. She looked like such a sweet little girl. So then Proctor and Silver, they visit Ghost once again. They talk about the planted DNA, because he keeps saying that the DNA was planted. It never happened. I didn't kill him and all this stuff. So they had to plant the DNA. And then he starts talking about, Silver asked him to go over whatever happened that day that he, you know, the same day that Knox was killed. What happened that day? Give us all the information of what transpired. Well, Ghost is like, you know, he pulled me over that day and all of that stuff, and then he lets it slip that Angela Valdez knew about it and all of this stuff. And he was talking about how he was slammed against the car, and then it comes to him like, oh crap, they didn't plant my DNA. They have my DNA because he pulled me over and he slammed me against the car and all of this stuff. And so they want to see if they can get the DNA thrown out, because Valdez knew that Ghost was pulled over, but she didn't share that information with the defense. And Knox never recorded the fact that he had pulled him over. So this was information that was left, you know, away from the defense. Defense had no idea about it, or they knew, but they're going to pretend like they didn't. So whatever goes down, it's just going to be a matter of, like, y'all didn't tell us about this whole situation. So, you know, we're going to try to get this evidence taken away or whatever, because he was pulled over and this man grabbed him, and that's how the DNA got there. But it was an illegal pullover or whatever, because it wasn't recorded. He didn't identify himself and all of this stuff. So it was kind of like harassment the way Knox pulled him over, in my opinion. But anyway, so then prosecutors Mac and Agent Sandoval, they're questioning Knox's friend, a guy by the name of Bailey Markham, and he's from Homeland Security. And so they're talking to him and telling him that they believe that Knox was the mole, and that he was the one that gave Tommy the information on how to kill Lobos. So he's like, you know, Markham is like, no, that's my friend. Now I remember Markham from last season, and he was good friends with Knox. Knox shared a lot of information with him before he was murdered. So Markham does not believe that Knox was the mole. And so he's like, y'all not about to just have my friend out here looking super guilty and he didn't do it. So he's going back and forth with them. And then Markham reveals that Knox thought that Angela was the actual mole, and that Angela was the one who gave everybody the information on Lobos' murder and all this stuff. And then he's just mad as hell because he like, y'all not about to have my friend looking guilty because Mac doesn't believe that Angela was the mole, and Sandoval will go with anybody being the mole as long as they don't figure out that it was him. So Markham is trying to say like, no, it was not Knox, and I'm not gonna be into any of this until y'all clear his name, because he was a good man who was killed in the line of duty, and y'all not gonna make him look like he was a mole or that he was crooked, because they basically trying to make it like he was a crooked cop. And Markham is saying like he wasn't a crooked cop, and he actually thought that Angela was the mole. Come to find out, it was really Sandoval. So nobody is thinking that the Sandoval, everybody who's being accused of being the mole is not the mole. It's the one person who was the mole is the one investigating everything. It's so funny to me. So then Tommy goes and he's hanging out with Keisha. You know, they each other's love interest now. And so she was telling him about how she was questioned and everything, and how it kind of freaked her out. And that, you know, they want to do the whole thing with taking away Tasha's spousal privilege and making her look like an accomplice with this whole situation, where technically Tasha is an accomplice because she always in on everything. But at the end of the day, I love Tasha, so I don't want to see her go down. But so Keisha was telling Tommy about all of this stuff and about how everybody got questioned and all of this stuff. And she's afraid that Tasha is going to spill everything. And Tommy was like, don't worry about it. You know, Tasha is the real deal. She is as hard as Chinese algebra. She's not going to say nothing. Don't worry about it. So Tariq then goes to see Kanan / Slim. Because, you know, we know him as Kanan, but Tariq knows him as Slim. And, you know, he has the sad face and everything. And Kanan is like, you know, dude, what's wrong with you? And he's like, I'm just sad because my dad might get the death penalty. And, you know, as he's talking, Kanan's sitting there pouring him some lean, the Sprite mixed with the promethazine and all of that stuff. And, you know, Kanan telling Tariq, like, you got to be ready to put in some work and all of this stuff. And Tariq, like, he ready. And I'm like, Tariq, you a damn fool. That man about to have you out here. You going to be, well, you ain't be in a cell next to your dad because you actually a juvenile. But I'm just saying, like, you gonna mess around and let this man have you ruin the rest of your life. You are, I don't want to say he dumb as a box of rocks because he's still like 13, 14 years old, but he cannot be this damn gullible. Like, child, stop. Like, whatever. So then Angela gets a visit from Agent Markham, and they're talking about Knox's funeral, and Agent Markham is talking about the fact like, hey, I seen you at the funeral even though you were trying to duck and hide and you didn't want to be seen. So Angela was like, yeah, I didn't want to be seen because I knew that the family didn't want to see me. And he was like, well, I really don't blame the family for not wanting to see you, because you're the reason why Knox ended up dead, because of the simple fact that you was messing around with St. Patrick, which is Ghost, and the fact that you was messing around with him. Knox kept investigating him, and that's what ended up having him murdered, because he was searching for all of these connections to get back at the man who stole you from him. So she's like, yeah, I know it's my fault and all of this stuff. And, you know, Markham is like, why don't you just do us all a favor, clear Knox's name by admitting that you're the real mole? And I'm like, damn. So he really went to her to basically tell her, like, girl, go ahead and admit that you the one who murdered him. I mean, not you the one who told Tommy and St. Patrick where Lobos was so that they could murder him. So that would make you the real mole and all that stuff. You was the one who was really working with Lobos and all of this stuff. With obviously it wasn't her, but Markham believes it was her. But Markham is so dead set on finding out who the real mole was, because he wants to clear Agent Knox's name, because Agent Knox was his very good friend, and he is not gonna let his friend go down having his name completely just out there looking like, you know, dirty or whatever. You're not gonna drag my friend's name through the mud. I actually got a lot of respect for Agent Markham, because that's a real friend right there. Like, he about to go through the trenches to make sure that Knox's name is clear of this whole situation. So I'm definitely excited to see what happens with Markham, because I remember last season him and Knox were good friends. So he's about to do whatever he can to clear Knox's name, and in the process he may be able to prove that it was actually Sandoval, and in the process he may actually be able to prove that Ghost did not kill Knox, Sandoval did. So this is about to get good, okay? So, moving on, I was about to call him Julio. That's what they called him. Julio visits Andre at Truth, and then they talk about the fact that they were questioned and all of this stuff. And Julio says, it's too much heat right now. You need to go ahead and shut the club down. So, Julio is kind of in charge of Andre because he works directly for Tommy, and Andre works for Ghost, but Ghost is locked up right now. So Tommy is really the point man, especially on the drugs and stuff. So Andre basically has to listen to Julio. So after Julio leaves, there's 2 girls still sitting in the office. Those are the 2 girls that Julio sent to work with Andre. I think those girls were sent to keep an eye on Andre. Andre excuses one of the girls, like, go ahead and do the inventory for the bottles or whatever. So then he tells the other girl, don't tell anybody what's going on because, this none of their business what we got going on. He was like, especially don't tell that girl that just walked up out of here. But I want you to keep doing what you doing as far as them drugs and stuff. So it looked like Andre really not listening to Julio. He gonna do what the hell he want to do when he want to do it. So we're gonna see what happens with that, okay? Then Markham has a secret meeting with Saxe, and Markham reveals to Saxe that he believes that Knox was not actually the mole. He believes that it was Angela, okay? And that he thinks that Ghost and Tommy killed Knox to keep them from being arrested about Lobo's death. Well, they did kill Lobos, but they didn't kill Knox. So, but Markham doesn't know this. Markham thinks that Angela is the real mole. So he wants to find proof that she's the one who really did it. And then, Saxe reveals that they have the tape because Tommy was having a conversation. I don't remember who he was having a conversation with last season, but Tommy admitted that he was the one who really killed Lobos, and he did it with Ghost. So now they know that Tommy is not Ghost, because if you kill somebody with Ghost, that means Ghost is a different person. You're not Ghost because you're not talking about yourself like that, right? So now you're talking about 2 people. So who is the real Ghost? So now they want to be able to prove that James St. Patrick is Ghost, and that the 2 of them conspired to kill Lobos, and that Angela had something to do with it. So this is getting really good, because now Saxe is like, you can tell Saxe is really thinking about it like, damn, maybe, just maybe, Knox really isn't the mole. So we're going to see what happens with that. And then Teresi goes ahead and he finds out, he gets all his information about who Tommy and Ghost really are. So now he knows who they are. So he pulls him aside. Well, Ghost is sitting down and he sits next to Ghost and is like, I know that you really Ghost, whatever. I saw the way you bent Biscuit's wrist back. Y'all remember he did that last episode. Biscuit was like flirting with him and stuff, and he popped his wrist real quick. So, because I thought he broke his finger, but maybe he broke his wrist. So anyway, he said, I saw that you did that and everything. So now I'm wondering, who you are. So I asked around. I found out that you Ghost and who Tommy is, and y'all used to run all these drugs and all of this stuff, and where y'all grew up. I know all this information about you. Long story short, if you don't want me to tell Mac, the prosecutor, everything I know about you and that you're really Ghost and how I got this information about you, I'm gonna need you to get $20,000. You have to get Tommy to take it to this certain address, and that's the only way. I'm not gonna tell who you really are, otherwise I'm gonna sing like a canary. So he's basically going to go ahead and blackmail Ghost and force Ghost to go ahead and tell, to pay this money so that he doesn't tell who Ghost really is. Ain't that something? So now Proctor and Tommy meet up, and Tommy is worried about, everything that's happening because Keisha, Andre, and Julio were questioned, and he wants to make sure everything is okay. But Proctor actually feels like Keisha is a weak link. And Tommy's like, no, she's not. She just not about this life. She don't really know everything that's going on. Proctor's like, you need to make sure she knows nothing about drugs because, she is a weak link. And, basically saying, like, you need to keep an eye on her because she might snitch. Is basically what he was saying. And also, while they're meeting up, Proctor gets more drugs for his wife because, he's supplying his wife's cocaine habit. Proctor is so, like, I don't want to say he's guilty, but he's just kind of corrupt. He's a good guy, but a corrupt guy at the same time. So I'm gonna keep an eye on Proctor, because Proctor may end up getting his ass arrested at some point, like getting all these drugs and all this stuff. Like, he bound to get caught doing something. But I like Proctor, but I don't know how long he gonna make it and still be an attorney. They gonna disbar his ass sometime. So anyway, Proctor and Silver are now having a conversation, and Silver basically lets it be known he does not think that Ghost is innocent. And so, Silver thinks that Proctor should recuse himself because it's a conflict of interest for him to represent both Tommy and Ghost at the same time. How can you represent both of their interests? And Proctor is like, no, their interest is the same thing, because they both want to be free. They're, basically Proctor knows everything about them. He knows that they're both crooks and they're both criminals, and that the two of them have been best friends since forever. So he feels fine representing both of them, but Silver doesn't like it. He feels like it's a real conflict of interest, and how can you have loyalty to both of them at the same time when they're both being charged with the same thing? If they both get a deal, whose side are you gonna be on? Like, who are you gonna tell to flip on the other? Like, how can you represent both of them and do it well, knowing that both of them are being looked at by these prosecutors for this crime of killing Knox? So, that's a whole situation. And then Saxe, one of the prosecutors, goes to visit, the judge in this whole situation, who is presiding over Ghost's case. And he tells the judge that there is a tape that was illegally obtained because there was a questionable CI. It was a questionable informant who taped this whole conversation where Tommy admits to murdering Lobos, and he incriminates Ghost. Now, I believe that it was the Spanish guy. I can't remember his name, but last season they ran him out of town, and then he came back and all of this stuff. It was a lot of drama surrounding that guy. For next episode, I'm trying to remember that guy's name, because I think he got murdered, though, so it doesn't really matter if I know his name. But anyway, they all end up getting murdered. But anyway, he's like, is this whole, we have this information, and can we use it? What can we do with this information? And the judge basically tells him to fuck off, because it's nothing you can do with information that you obtain from an informant who was not even supposed to be an informant and all of this stuff. You illegally obtained all this information. You wasn't even supposed to be taping the guy. You wasn't even supposed to be taping Tommy and all of this stuff. So you can't really use this in a court of law. So then Ghost tells Proctor when they meet up that Teresi called him Ghost, and that, nobody in that prison was supposed to know that his name was Ghost, but Teresi knew his name was Ghost. So now that's an issue. So he's like, I need you to do some homework and find out exactly who this guy Teresi is, because this guy has information on me, and I want to know who he is, because nobody's supposed to know my name and all of this stuff. Find out who Tony Teresi is, because this is a problem. He knows that I'm Ghost. And then he tells him, get Tommy to take 20 grand to this address. So he's gonna go ahead and pay them blackmail money, but he still wants to find out who Teresi is. Now, Angela wants to talk along with Ghost. She shows up because Silver shows up as well. Silver's like, why are y'all talking without me or whatever? Proctor's like, don't worry about it. Did you get the tape that shows that Knox pulled Ghost over but didn't record it? And he's like, we still working on it and everything. So Angela pops up, and then she wants to meet and have a conversation along with Ghost. And then Ghost was like, no, I don't trust you. And I'm like, thank God you wised up, because I thought that Ghost was going to be like, yeah, let me and her talk. And I was about to be like, damn, you stupid. She played you once. You going to get played again. But he didn't. So kudos to Ghost for finally get his head on straight. He was thinking with the little head for a long time. Finally, he thinking with the big head. So now Angela wants him to confess to killing Knox and snitch on Tommy for the Lobos murder, and then she could get his sentence reduced. And he's like, no, I'm not doing it. She's like, well, we're gonna be able to break spousal privilege, and we're gonna have Tasha testify against you, and have Tasha testify against this whole thing, or Tasha will be prosecuted if she doesn't play ball. So if you go ahead and snitch on Tommy, we will not force Tasha to testify. But if you don't do it, we're going to put Tasha up there and make her snitch, or we are going to charge her as an accomplice and have her prosecuted. So then he's like, man, whatever, I don't trust you no more, blah, blah, blah. Proctor says, she doesn't even have the authority to give you any kind of deal. Just blow that off. But Silver questions Proctor's loyalty once Ghost leaves the room. So Ghost and Angela leave the room, but then Proctor and Silver are having a conversation. And Proctor is like, why would you tell him not to take that deal? That's a good deal. He should take that deal because he is facing a death penalty. And she does have the authority to give him that deal. And Proctor's like, just trust me, do what I tell you to do, and we gonna get all of this stuff straightened out. But I'm like, I don't know. This whole situation is super messy, and Silver is not liking any of it. So then Tommy is at the warehouse, and Andre pays him a visit, tells him about the arrest and everything, and that Julio wants the club shut down, and that, you know, they had a whole situation because the drugs really been moving. So Tommy like, well, you know what, go ahead, keep selling the drugs, just be careful, don't get arrested. Then while Andre and Tommy are talking, Andre tells Tommy like, hey, you know, when we were pulled in by the cops to talk and everything, Julio was questioned far longer than I was questioned. So you might want to talk to him and find out what he told them and all of this stuff. So Tommy like, okay. And, you know, that was that. And so I don't know. I think that this moment, Tommy is starting to question Julio because, you know, I think it was last episode, he had a problem with Tommy had a problem with Julio because Julio was supposed to handle that situation when the man was disrespectful and punched Tommy's friend in the face, and then Tommy ended up driving the car and hitting the guy with the car and then running over him and all of that stuff. So Tommy is already feeling some type of way about Julio because he don't feel like Julio is following orders like he's supposed to. So now Tommy is side-eyeing Julio. I don't know if Julio is aware of that yet, though. So Charlie Murphy's character is the guard still. Rest in peace, Charlie Murphy. And he shows the magazine to Rayna he shows the magazine to Ghost of Rayna crying in front of her school, which was the photo that was taken by the paparazzi outside the school. And so he's basically like, yeah, look, this is tearing up your family, all this stuff. Charlie Murphy's character is just taunting Ghost at this point. He don't really care. He just taunting the hell out of him. So Ghost gets upset and he just throws down the newspaper cover or whatever, the magazine or whatever, and goes about his business. Then they cut to a scene with Tariq playing video games with his friends, like a little white kid. This is Tariq's friend. They playing video games at his house. At the same time, Kanan is robbing somebody, and it looked like it's the kid who's sitting over Tariq's house. So it looks like maybe this is what, you know, Kanan was saying, like, hey, this is what I need you to get ready for and all this stuff. When Kanan had Tariq drinking all that lean, talking about you need to get ready for the thing we talked about and all this stuff, I think this was it. He is having the boy's house robbed while Tariq is distracting him by playing video games with him. So the boy is at Tariq and Tasha's house playing video games while at the same time Kanan is robbing the kid and I guess the kid's parents or whatever. So yeah, Tariq, you falling in with the wrong crowd, boo-boo. It's always the kids with the most money and who parents got it good and got it made and all of that stuff that want to be out here doing all kind of crazy stuff, want to be in a drug life and a thug life and all of that, and none of that is you, boo. Keep it pushing. So anyway, Ghost calls Tasha. Rayna was crying in the background. Rayna crying her eyes out. Poor baby. He tries to talk to her and console her, but he can't really console her because she feels like the whole situation was her fault, and it really is not her fault. You know, she dealing with a lot. I really like Rayna. I hope they give her more scenes. I really think she's a cute kid, and she really plays her role really well. I like Rayna. But anyway, she was crying her eyes out. Ghost was trying to console her, but he really couldn't. And then Tasha ended up having to get off the phone because Rayna wouldn't stop crying. She was basically inconsolable. And then before they got off the phone, Ghost thanked Tasha for everything she's been doing and helping out and all of this stuff. And she's like, yeah, okay, bye. The way she said it, like you could tell, she felt like this shit is all your fault. You was sleeping with that damn woman, and now our whole family is in a mess that we cannot get out of. So it's affecting both of their children. We don't really see their third daughter because I know they got a little girl who like maybe first or second grade or something. We don't really see her, but the two older kids are definitely affected by this. But of course they would be. Anybody would be. So then Sandoval meets up with Markham, and they're at this little bar or whatever, and Sandoval tells Markham that he also thought that Knox was not the mole, that he thought it was Angela. So Sandoval is so crooked that he basically gonna say whatever anybody wants to hear. If you think Angela was the mole, he gonna tell you Angela was the mole. If you think Knox was the mole, he gonna tell you Knox was the mole. If you thought Saxe or Mac was the mole, he'll tell you them too, because he's the real mole. So he gonna do whatever he gotta do to keep his name out these streets and keep you from finding out that it really was him, and he set everything up, and he is the real murderer and all of this stuff. So, you know, he just lying his butt off. But, you know, Markham says, you know, I have evidence that can exonerate Knox, but I can't tell you what it is now. And I think that he's talking about the tape of Tommy admitting to killing Lobos and all of that. So that could possibly exonerate Knox. But the tape was illegally obtained, so they can't really out it right then. So then Sandoval's like, okay, well, I'll talk to you later, blah, blah, blah. So he leaves, and when he leaves, you see that Markham pulls up his laptop, and he's actually doing research on Sandoval. So Sandoval think he's slick, you know, but he ain't that slick, baby. He about to get caught, you know. I forgot what movie I was watching when he was like, you know, you think you nickel slick, but I got your penny change. Yeah, I think it was Big Mama's house or something like that, but that's what it is. Like, Sandoval think he about to get away with it, and no, boo-boo, you starting to get real sloppy, and it's only a matter of time. Hopefully it don't take that damn long, because how many more episodes we got to see Power where damn Ghost is still in jail? Can we? I mean, listen, nobody wants to watch a whole season of a person in prison. Y'all better not do this with Showtime, the show Billions. I love the show Billions. Bobby Axelrod better not be in prison the whole season like Ghost is on this show. Anyway, so then Rayna was talking to Tariq, and she tells him, you know, he needs to be better at school, and they must be perfect because everybody is watching to see what they do, because their father is in a lot of trouble. And Tariq basically cuts her out and be like, and he like, get the F out of my room and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, this boy is terrible, and he just don't know how to talk to his sister. He is terrible. And then Proctor has the information about Ghost. Proctor has the information about Teresi and who he really is, and tells Ghost that he was really a hitman and all of this stuff, and that he was surprised that Ghost didn't even know who Teresi is, because he's some big time hitman or whatever from some crime family, some mob family or whatever. And then Ghost also tells Proctor about Rayna being on the paper and that she was crying. And then he tells Proctor, like, this is all your fault, because if you wouldn't have got the media involved and doing that whole interview in front of the courthouse, they wouldn't be so concerned with what was going on, and they wouldn't have been following my daughter like that. And then Proctor was like, I was doing the best I could with what I had. But I agree, because, you know, he was doing his job trying to get you to look as innocent as possible. Don't be mad at him. You the reason why you in this situation. Don't blame anybody but yourself, Ghost, okay? So, moving on. Now they're at the courthouse, and Proctor and Silver are presenting a motion to dismiss the DNA evidence, because now they have the video of Knox pulling over Ghost, and that's how the DNA really got under his fingernails, because he was slamming him against the car and all this stuff. And so the judge is like, well, I can't really use that to throw out the DNA evidence, but you can present this video and show the jury. So then he says, well, Angela Valdez knew about this video and she withheld this evidence, which means that they were withholding evidence from the defense. So the judge is like, is that true? And then they admit that, yeah, it's true. So then he says, well, the judge says, well, okay, I tell you, I do you one better. You can present your DNA evidence to the prosecution. That's what we tell prosecution. You can present your DNA evidence, but the defense will be able to present this video, and they will basically be able to make it look like you withheld this evidence and call y'all some liars, and show that y'all was basically doing some shady stuff, and that Knox was doing some shady stuff when he pulled them over and all this stuff. And they like, well, that's gonna, you know, have the jury prejudice against the prosecution. And the judge was like, that's y'all fault. So they're upset about that. So the judge like, I don't know what to tell you. So Proctor was like, well, you should just dismiss the DNA evidence. That's the best I can tell you. So then they go ahead and dismiss the DNA evidence, because now they look guilty as hell for not looking into this video. And then Proctor tries to get the whole case dismissed, and the judge is like, hell no, because we still got the gun and the fingerprints. Now remember, the fingerprints were planted by Sandoval, and the gun was actually planted in Ghost's office by Sandoval. So we're gonna see how long that evidence holds up, because Sandoval he is all over that. And then back at the office, Mac apologizes to Angela for not looking more into this traffic stop, because Mac actually didn't believe it, so he didn't do any information, but he didn't look into any information, but because she told him about it, well, it looks like he withheld it, so still, it got thrown out. So he had to apologize to her and was like, yeah, you the most important piece of this trial and all of this stuff. She was like, yeah, don't you forget it. I'm like, girl, get over yourself. I'm so sick of her. Anyway, Tommy's fight party, he shows up as a shipment. I don't know what that was about, so we're gonna see that later. And when he hops out the truck, he says something slick to Julio, so he is not really feeling Julio. We're gonna see what that whole shipment was about and how he really feeling about Julio, because something about to go down with Tommy and Julio. I'm not sure what it is, but I bet you it's gonna happen next episode, and I am here for it, because that was about the end of the episode. And then at the very end, Silver confronts Ghost and tells him, like, I'm your attorney and you pay me, but I think that you guilty. I think that you did all of this stuff, and I really don't trust you. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do what I gotta do, but you still just a regular drug dealer. And he's like, Ghost is like, stop judging me, basically. And you was just some rich kid, and now you judging me because I had a harder life or whatever. And Silver doesn't deny it, but he's definitely judging Ghost. So we're gonna see. But Silver's like, I'm gonna do my job so that I can use this money to help other people, but at the end of the day, I still feel like you're guilty. So we about to see what happened. It look like next episode is gonna be really, really good. It's gonna be some drama going down, but I hope y'all enjoy, because I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was a pretty good episode. I hope they hurry up and let him out of jail, because I am sick of watching this show with him in jail and in jail, and like, how many more damn episodes he gonna be in jail? Like, come on now, not the whole season. This shit, it gets boring after a while. Take note, Billions on Showtime. It gets boring to watch an entire season of a person locked up, okay? Just for the record, okay? So anyway, it was a pretty good episode overall. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell me what you thought. Let me know in the comments section. Be sure to subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. And I will talk to you guys next time. Enjoy. Bye.